Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Drew McWilliams. Drew, it's great to see you. I know I was on your podcast last week, so it's great to be connected with you. Drew is the co-founder and president of Ivybrook Academy Preschools, currently the country's 9th largest childcare company, which spans over 18 states. Also a partner of Starting Point Capital, which helps educate people about real estate rental investments that produce passive income. Drew, good to see you again. I know I was on your podcast last week, so this is great to have you on mine. As an entrepreneur, as a business coach and as an entrepreneur, I like to start my podcast. I work with people who are successful and stuck. I get them unstuck. And I like to start my podcast off with talking about where's a reason stuck in your business as an entrepreneur, and how did you get yourself unstuck?
Yeah, great question. So it's all relative to, I guess, to where our company is right now in the trajectory of our growth. So as you were kind enough to mention, my wife and I are the founders of Ivybrook Academy, which is a children's preschool. We cater to children between the ages of 2 to 6. And we have been blessed enough to be able to grow that company from one location. We started 17 years ago to now we have 92 locations awarded across 18 different states. How we have done that is via the method of franchising. So we are something called a franchisor. So that is the model that we ran with for company expansion, and all that expansion has really been done the last 7 years. So we've really been in business for 17 years, but we've gone from 2 locations to 92 locations awarded in the last 7. The stuck part changes at every time. So initially the stuck part is, how do I get out of my own metro city of Charlotte, North Carolina? That was right. That was the first stuck. The second is, then we grew in the Carolinas, because we very much consider ourselves one big state down here. And how do you get out of the Carolinas? And then, where we're at, and we can unpack, how did I get unstuck with each of those? But it's really by surrounding myself with smart people like yourself, either business coaches, advisors. I've had an amazing franchise advisor. What a specific niche that is, for the last 7 years. And they're the people that helped me get through the first 2 stucks. And, kind of where we're at now is the growth of our company is, now that we've gone and kind of hit the radar and being in the top 10 educational company in the country, it's really growth and sustainable growth. And who my stuck part is, what people do I need to put in the right seats?
Yeah.
I don't have a CMO, I don't have a CFO, I wear very many hats. And how do I get myself out of my own way to make sure my company keeps continuing growing and breathing?
One of the things that's becoming increasingly popular, when you say you don't have a CMO, is the fractional CMO, the fractional ... And I'm seeing a lot of companies do that, because they can go, like you were saying, they can go kind of outside of their realm of, demographic, they can go beyond the geography that they're in, and they can get a CMO, throughout the country, or sometimes even the world. That's a fractional piece. So I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things you talked about is surrounding yourself with smart people. What's one lesson you've learned from a mentor along the way that has, helped you in your business today?
Oh, I love that question. It's okay to ask for help. I would say, again, at every different life stage, I'm in my mid 40s, in my 20s, there is no way I wanted to ask somebody for help. I fresh college graduate, you think that you know everything, and, you're going to conquer the world and try to do things yourself. Surrounding myself with good coaches, good mentors. I think if you have the right coach, there's someone that it's more talking to a friend than it is having to get a lecture from a parent. My kid, they don't like lectures from parents, right? They're just being told what to do and what not to do. But but what I have learned is, by aligning yourself with the right people, it's more conversational, and someone can help walk along that journey with you, so you don't have to do that all on your own.
Yeah. That's great. I appreciate that. I find that asking for help is a really, really hard thing, especially in business. And I'm so glad you brought that up. So when it comes to, your business, I'm curious, how did you pick the Academy preschool business? There's a lot of things that you can franchise, and that you can, be the leader of all of that. What drew you to this? I think I've had on the show a couple people, franchise consultants, where, people will call them and then they'll determine kind of what franchise fits them, and do they own a territory or a state or multiple states. But how did you pick that niche?
Luck. I don't mind being as transparent as possible. It wasn't intentional. So my background actually is in real estate. So I've been in real estate since I was 19. That's my background. And married my college sweetheart, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. My wife was a first grade teacher, public school first grade teacher for a number of years. And then 1 year she came home. This is before we had children. So we were kind of in our late 20s. She came home one day and said, I have a calling to work with younger children. And I had no idea what that meant, not having kids at the time. And allegedly, John, I said,
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You're a first grade teacher. There's not any students to teach less than first grade, maybe kindergarten. Yeah. And little did I know this whole world of preschool and preschool education existed. So she finished out the school year as a first grade teacher, took 2 years off. She actually wrote the curriculum. It's proprietary to just us, our brand, our school, and copyrighted. And we opened up our first location, really, because she had a calling to work with younger children. First school took off. We were very successful day one, and so successful that I had to open up a second school during the financial crisis in 2010, right at the end of the financial crisis. And we were in the black day one, even opening up a second school. So at that time, once I saw that kind of that secret sauce and that magic of how important and valuable parents put on education with young children, then I quickly quit my job in corporate America and started helping to grow the brand and grow our own company for us.
I love that. I want to do a quick mini life course, because you're talking about, you saw opportunity in something and you quit your job and you decided to, move directions, pivot and do a shift in everything that you were, that you knew. Right. And so, for somebody, I think we're seeing a lot of that right now, right? The people having these epiphanies and wanting to get and find alignment, find fulfillment. And once they find it, they're, and they've hopefully, I think, community done their due diligence to know that actually it's a business that people will pay for and things of that nature. But diving in here, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give someone who is, maybe in a position that they don't want to be in? They found their alignment, but they're, like you said, you quit your job and then you jumped in. What 3 pieces of advice would you give that person?
Man, by default, I just want to say education, 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 because that's kind of the space I'm in. But, I mean, what I mean by that is, read, learn. There is so much more now for people to able to find, what kind of fits their needs, not only financially, but also what fits their backgrounds, what they have a passion about. And there can be an alignment. For many years, I thought you could either start a nonprofit and do a lot of good in the world, or you can make, millions of dollars and go down that road. There are combinations of businesses that are out there. And that's what I love about Ivybrook. You feel good about, our franchisees, our franchise owners feel good about what they do in their community every night when they put their head on the pillow. But at the same time, it's rewarding enough that you can't quit a corporate America job. So where I'm going with that is, for anyone in your, listening audience that is trying to find, that jump off point or what to do, why I say education so many times is online research, but the world of podcasts. I love podcasts. I binge on podcasts more than anything. And I would, yesterday was the weekend, and I was telling my wife, I drove, 10 minutes to Lowe's, 10 minutes home, and in 20 minutes, like, I downloaded an amazing educational podcast. I'm nerdy because I love real estate. We've talked about that before. And I learn new tips and tricks every single time. If I have 20 minutes in a car, I would rather learn about something that is going to impact my life or my family's life or somebody else that I can pass on, rather than just, jam out to music. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm from the South. I love a good, Luke Combs country music song every once in a while. But at the same time, just the wealth of information that you can surround yourself with to learn more, to ask others about, is just endless.
It's great. All right. So education, education, education. What would number 2 be?
Don't be afraid to ask. I think we've already conquered that before, right? Don't be afraid to ask others for advice. I think that, let's just talk about, if someone's thinking about being an entrepreneur, and I'll just use myself as an example. Maybe they want to run a preschool business. Why don't you go talk to somebody that runs a preschool business, right? Talk to them first and do a validation test. And if you come back and be like, oh, that's not a good fit, I think that's equally as successful. I really, really do.
Yeah.
For you to be able to talk to somebody and learn what you don't want to do in life, I think is just as important to find out and talk to somebody of what you do want to do in life.
Yeah, I love it. And number 3?
Number 3, I believe that you are the average of these 5 people that you surround yourself with the most in life. I thankfully have a brilliant, beautiful wife. That is definitely number 1 person. But the other 4 people really should be I'll call it your personal board of directors, and I bounce ideas off my friends, not my work colleagues. I love my work colleagues, but I think you have to have a great, firm sounding board to be able to run ideas off of people. And if you're getting negative feedback from the 5 people that you're surrounding yourself with the most, you might need to do a little bit of pruning and find some other people that might be able to help elevate your game.
Yeah, those are great. Right. I mean, surround yourself with people, ask for help, and educate. I mean, all things I just want to point out, we have complete control over, and things that we can carve out time, prioritize, and do as we begin to make our decisions. So no, I appreciate that. That was great, Drew. All right, let's talk about, you have 2 businesses, right? So you have your business, which is the Ivybrook Academy preschools, but you also have a company, Starting Point Capital, passive real estate investing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, how does that happen, right? So, and how do they intersect? As I first mentioned earlier, I started in real estate at 19. I knew exactly what I wanted to do whenever I graduated high school. I didn't know exactly where it would lead me. But there's kids that grow up want to be, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be an astronaut. I'm that kid that says, I love houses. I want to figure out how to work with houses, and had an amazing opportunity to, at 19, started leasing apartments. That kind of got me into that field. I studied real estate in college. I went to one of the few colleges in Pennsylvania at the time that had real estate as a major that you could study. And that was one of the reasons that led me there. Graduated from college and went into residential home sales, which was great career. Did very well in that. And then when my wife started Ivybrook, then just by default, I shifted over to commercial real estate and really needed to be the person to help find new locations to open up territories across the country. That opportunity has now been awarded to somebody else. I have a staff that now does commercial real estate selection, as I'm needed elsewhere in the company for growth and for vision. And I missed real estate. I really, really did. And even though that is still an integral part of what we do as a company, I missed that ability. And I've been investing in real estate personally. This is a personal thing, for a long time. I mean, I had my first rental property when I was 25, maybe, and never really looked back. So, as we sit right now, I have 3 residential properties. I have 4 commercial properties, and then I'm invested in 7 different apartment complexes around the country, not just in my home state, via a method. It's a fancy term called real estate syndications, which is kind of, group fund, basically crowdfunding to invest in an apartment complex.
Hold on, before you go into that,
Yeah.
I want to do kind of like a mini business course on syndicating, right? So you're syndicating deals. So 3 things everybody needs to know to kind of either get involved or start a syndication.
So a syndication, if someone in your audience doesn't know what that means, that is the fancy term for basically a crowdfunding of different people can pull money together to invest in one large project. It doesn't always have to be real estate. Real estate is the space that I'm extremely comfortable in because I've been doing that for over 25 years. But you can also, there's other pages out there that are, and platforms out there that you can invest in a startup business, right? You might like someone's new clothing line, or you might like someone's jewelry line. So a syndication is basically going in and, you know, group investing into one project. That's the first thing you need to know. Okay. Number two is, you know, you need to be able to look at what the returns are. You know, what are your goals? Make sure your goals are in alignment. Again, I love real estate. I know how to look and analyze a real estate deal. So I feel very comfortable with that. Maybe your background is, I used the previous example, you know, clothing, or it could be something else, jewelry. Make sure it's in an alignment of something that you feel comfortable with, and knowing the numbers is extremely important. What that means is, whenever you invest into something, make sure you know what the potential returns are. I think in anything, including the stock market, they're going to give you projections. No one's going to guarantee anything, but know what the risks are, know what the pros are, and know what the cons are. Number three is, I think, actually the most important. You need to feel extremely comfortable with who's running that syndication. I call it the operator. So who is the operator? I have to have extreme amount of confidence before I put my hard-earned, you know, dollars, you know, from a W-2 job or a 1099 job into investing with somebody else. So, you know, my big thing is, I need to know, like, and trust you. If I don't know, like, and trust you, I'm not going to invest in your brand, and I'm not going to invest in your company. So those are my three takeaways.
Those are good. Those are good. You know, I think community, it's real estate is something that a lot of people want to get involved in. So this kind of these three fundamentals are good to, I think, expand on, and will give people a great starting point. When it comes to, you know, your business, your growth, things that you've done, you know, and you asking for help, where, you know, I have another company. This is my coaching company, but I have another coaching company, which you're familiar with. And I know you signed up to be a mentor, which I'm really grateful for. Launch 3, which is a coaching platform I have for 18 to 26-year-olds to give them more tools to grow in their life, their career, and their brand. What would you recommend? How would you recommend that age group ask for help today?
That's a really good question. That's a head scratcher one. You know, for that audience, I think that they are interested in consuming as much information as fast as they can. Just with the age of, you know, digital platforms that are out there, I'll call it the Instagram world, that was not around. You know, I'm a dinosaur in my mid 40s already. You know, whenever I grew up, that wasn't out there. So I think people are able to process information a lot faster because it's being fed to them a lot faster. So, you know, how to consume information is, you know, probably different. You know, I personally don't want to sit in an hour-long lecture anymore, right? I want to be able to be fed information pretty quickly, and then I want to be able to act on it, or I want to be able to ask questions upon it. So if you have me listen to an hour-long, let's just say, podcast, you know, I'm probably going to break it up into different segments, right? So that would be my again, I would rather ask somebody between the ages of 18 to 26 to answer that question than good old me.
Well, I think it's good to get advice, because I think, to that point, you know, I think that age group just doesn't know what they don't know. And so, and yet they're a really, really smart group of people, but I think sometimes they don't ask for help as much as they should. You know, there's so much stress and so much competition right now amongst that age group to get internships and jobs and get into schools and do that. It's like, you know, it's almost like people stick to themselves because they don't want to. And so I think asking for help is huge on so many levels. Yeah. All right, let's do go ahead.
But don't you see the people that in that age bracket that are asking you and looking at you for assistance or advice, don't you think that they're getting further ahead in life?
100%, 100%.
100%.
When you ask for help, it's amazing. In this Launch 3 community, we see it because we have these live workshops on Wednesdays. We do this thing on Monday and Tuesday, but a live workshop. And the epiphanies that some of them are having, these are really smart, driven people who are choosing to, advance themselves. But some of them are changing careers. They're meeting people. They're opening up their worlds, because we have people from all over the world calling in. And so it's fascinating what can happen. And it takes just a little bit of a shift. It's unbelievable. True. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I love it.
All right, let's do a quick speed round. A book that's or a TED Talk that's had a big impact on you.
Woo. Profitable Partnerships. It is author, blank in my head, Nathan someone, but that is an amazing book for mindset for anyone in the franchise space.
Profitable. Oh, that's great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Never, never, never quit.
Yeah, never. Yeah. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do to tap into their inner entrepreneur is
listen and learn.
Yeah. Well said. Think community. I always love this podcast because I get to bring people on like Drew McWilliams who are in alignment with my mission to work with people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And Drew, you gave a ton of content today to help people get unstuck. We've said it over and over again on this podcast, but I'm going to say it again. My one takeaway, Think community, is ask for help. No matter how old you are, we can always ask for help. And it is in many cases a hard thing to do, a vulnerable thing to do at times, but ask for help and a whole new world opens up. My parents always raised me, you can always learn from somebody older and younger. So never close anybody out when you can ask for help. The older generations need the younger generations and vice versa. Drew, tell people who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, two fronts. On the real estate side, if somebody is interested in, investing in real estate, but don't want to be, getting calls from tenants about, tenants, termites, and trash, I call it, and just want to kind of be a passive investor, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and my website with my partners and I is startingpointcapital.com because everybody needs a starting point. That's why we came up with that company name. On the education side, Ivybrook Academy is the name of my company and my brand. Equally, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am very open and transparent with running both companies and doing both things simultaneously, and happy to talk about either one anytime with somebody.
Great. Drew, always a pleasure. I appreciate being on your podcast last week. It's great to have you on my podcast this week. I appreciate you being a mentor in the Launch 3 community. Everybody, you can get a hold of me for my coaching at jondwoskin.com. If you want to learn more about Launch 3, launch-3.com. Drew, this was great. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.